Was it God's dream for his church to become just a building or a venue for meetings? Was it God's dream for his church to become an archaic institution focused on maintaining rituals? Was it God's dream for his church to become an irrelevant voice in society? No. His dream is something bigger. His dream is for the young and the old, the male and the female, the rich and the poor, from every tongue, every tribe and every nation to serve together as one. His dream is for these people to become the unstoppable movement, equipped and empowered to carry his life-changing message of love, hope, peace, joy, forgiveness and purpose into every corner of society. This is the dream. This is the church.
Good to be together. Hope that was an inspiring little moment there. My name is Joel. If we haven't yet met, it's a joy and a delight to be together, and I have the pleasure of being able to kick off this series at the moment, this current theme that we're going to be looking on. And I just want you to think about something for a moment, and this is true for all of us, whether you're a believer in Jesus or whether you're not yet a believer in Jesus or whether you've walked away from Jesus, wherever you are, this is going to be true for all of humanity. Before something becomes a reality, somebody dreamt about it. Before anything in your life has happened or become a reality, you've dreamt about it. You imagined it, if you like that word. You know, maybe you were looking through, if you're as old as me, you were looking through a newspaper to try to find your first house. Or you're scrolling online and you're scrolling through, or maybe you have a property and you're thinking about how you'd like to change some of it. Now, before you actually start knocking down walls, you start imagining the possibility. You start thinking about what if. You might have even started thinking about a holiday, because we think about holidays in the UK for about 6 months of the year, and then as soon as it gets nice here, we've all left. But anyway, you start thinking about it, you imagine it, you dream about it. And for most things that ever take place in life, it starts first with a dream. That's the way we're made. That's the way God made us. Because believe it or not, God is also a dreamer. He had an idea and it became reality. You know, these things that came to reality. Now, if you have a dream, there's a couple of things to talk about a dream. If you have a dream, you're not focused necessarily primarily on the here and now, but you're reaching into the future. The dream reaches into the what if. The dream reaches into possibilities. The dream reaches into the I can imagine. I want to see. It's this hope. It's this longing. The dream reaches into the future. But just because you have a dream, and just because you think about something or long for something or hope for something, just because you have a dream, it doesn't actually mean anything in terms of yet becoming reality. You know, I dreamt I would play for Manchester United. I know some of you are shaking your heads thinking, why did you ever dream that? And I'm not insulted because I know you think I'm fit enough. I know it's not that. It's just the team choice, right? No. No. You might remember when you were younger and you sort of dream about doing certain things, or, you know, I want to be in a rock and roll band. I want to be the drummer. You know, I want to play the drums. I'm in a band. I want to be a drummer, you know. Right. Do you take drum lessons? Well, no. Have you got a drum kit at home? No. I mean, have you got like 2 wooden sticks that you tap on the side of a bed? I mean, like, well, no, but I'm going to be a drummer. You know, I'm going to be a rock and roll star. You know, like without action, without reality, the dreams don't take place. So we have to do something. So for the dream to ever move forward from being the what if and the possibility, the dream has to actually have some type of action to ever become reality. And when we're working on things, when we're reaching for something that's not yet, there's going to be setbacks. Maybe you're changing something in your house and all of a sudden something unexpected came up because they found something, the gas pipe ran this way, or the electricity needs to be redone, something that you hadn't anticipated needing to be changed. Or maybe you had this dream about the future and you really hoped that something would be that you guys would do in life, and maybe something happened in your family, a diagnosis of an illness, or maybe something like what was a car crash, literal or metaphorical. Something happened you couldn't anticipate. In everything, there's setbacks in life, and there's things that sort of knock us a bit, aren't there? And for every dream, we still have to persevere. For every reaching to the future, we still have to persevere. Because if you have a dream, it's going to cost us. If you have a dream, it's going to cost you. It will take hard work. It doesn't just happen. It's not just dreaming for the what if. It's not just putting some action into it and some effort behind it, but it's actually costly because it actually takes a bit of hard work. And you see, God is a dreamer, and God had this dream that all of creation could one day be reconciled, repaired, restored, put back together. And see, maybe you're a follower of Jesus, or maybe you're not, but you know this is true. Something is wrong. Something is wrong with the world. Something is wrong with one another. Something is wrong with relationships. You just have to look on the news and find that for some reason we continue to think it's better to just hurt one another. And we abuse one another, and we take advantage of one another. And you think as developed people after thousands of years, surely we've evolutionized or matured enough to actually realize, hang on a minute, this didn't work thousands of years ago. Why do we think it still works now to treat people this way? We're not actually becoming more mature. They thought after World War II that that would be the end of the wars, right? That was some big thing. They thought that was going to be it. No more. Newsflash, it's actually much, much more than there ever were before. And we're more creative at finding ways to hurt people because we don't even have to do it face to face. I can send you a message online as an anonymous person, and I can make fun of you, and I can belittle you, and you see, we are so creative at finding ways to destroy one another. And you think, oh, what is this? And the Bible talks about it, and it says that this is a thing called sin, which sin is a poison, and a poison has seeped into everything, every one of our cells, every one of us. It just is what it is. We've inherited it. It's a ugh. And it's the way the Bible explains what's wrong and what's broken. And God had this dream to repair what was wrong and what was broken and restore the creation to what he'd originally intended it to be, which is a place where heaven touches earth and you can live in communion with God. And we can recognize and appreciate and love one another for the gift that they are. We don't use one another, but we love one another. There's this big dream. This big dream. And we tried and we tried and we tried and we tried. And this is the story of the Bible, if you like, in a nutshell. We tried and we tried and we tried to repair it and rebuild it and get it right. And we couldn't do it. We just tried in so many ways. And sacrifices didn't work and punishment didn't work. And you know that's true anyway. You know that's true in your own life, It didn't work. And God had to come up with this plan because the dream was the big dream to restore and repair everything. And so he sent his one and only son. He sent his son Jesus to be the one to repair, the one to remove and drink the poison, if you like, that was affecting us all and take the punishment for us. See, he had to put the dream into action. He couldn't just dream about having a people. He couldn't just dream about having reconciliation and restoration. He had to do something about it. And so he sent his son. And there were setbacks and there were things that hit him along the way and things that were costly because it actually cost Jesus his very life. He gave everything for the dream. He gave everything. He paid the ultimate price. But that wasn't the end of the story. After giving his life, 3 days later, he came back. He came back to life, proving once and for all, I am the way to rebuild and repair everything. And the power of sin and hurt and death is broken. I'm living proof. There is a way back and there is a way to be made whole. And this was how, otherwise he just would have died and that would have been it, right? But he came back and that was the living proof. That was bringing the next step to the dream. Now the relationships can be repaired, restored, reconciled between us and God. And you're like, cool. So I guess now that he's done that, we don't have to do anything about it. We should all just put our feet up. I don't know, go to heaven. No. We just put our feet up and just leave, right? We just put our feet up and not have to do anything about it, right? We just like these like passive recipients of this thing that Jesus did. But what if his dream hasn't yet stopped? What if his dream hasn't yet finished? What if his dream wasn't just die and come back to life and show everybody there's another way? What if the dream was still bigger? What if the dream was still what it was in the beginning? To bring a creation, to restore all of humanity. What if the dream was so much bigger than it just being for us as individuals, but actually for all of the world? Maybe his dream isn't over yet. The dream is huge. But God's not here anymore. Okay, I have not had coffee with Jesus this week. I don't know. Did you see him? I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him for a couple thousand years. He's just not around. Right? Okay, he's not here on the earth, on the flesh anymore. Okay, he's gone. So how in the world is this dream supposed to be realized? How in the world is this what if, this possibility, this future, this thing that could be, how in the world is that supposed to actually come about? And he told us how he's going to do it. And he says it in this way, and he calls it this thing, and drum roll please. He says, I'm going to do it through the church. Yeah, right. That was really exciting, wasn't it? You're like, the church. Have you seen the church lately? Man, do you know where the church is? Surely you can come up with a way better plan, a little bit more dynamic. I mean, the first plan was cool. Like, heal people, walk on water, take one bit of bread and a little bit of fish and feed thousands. That was pretty cool. And then, hey, die and everybody watch you die. And then, be gone and everybody thinks you're dead. And then come back to life. That was cool. That was dynamic. That was incredible. But have you seen the church? Huh? Yeah. It's a little bit different. And we can kind of feel like, man, you bumped your head somewhere along the way. How is this your dream? How is this your dream? What is going on here? But yes, he says to us, my plan, my purpose, my vehicle, my plan A, my number one aim, my number one goal, my number one avenue that I am going to use to redeem creation is through the church. It's through the church. Wait. And he says, don't go there. I gave my life for it.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't you go there. I gave everything for it. I have spent so much money on trying to get this house the way I want it. I have spent so much time and effort working on this thing. So don't you dare tell me that it's a bad dream. This has been in my heart for as long as I can remember. This has been the thing that I've been reaching for, the what if, the possibility, because my dream is to see a people restored, a creation redeemed. So don't you dare tell me it's not worth it. I've already paid more than you will ever pay. And don't tell me it's hard work. I've given so much more hard work than you can ever imagine. I'm so sorry. I gave more than you can ever give if we're going to play the Trump game, right? So, and you're like, come on, oh, geez, so then we can't, okay, right. So let's lean in, let's take a moment, let's just dig in at the start of this series and just sort of think, okay, so what's going on? So how does Jesus do this? And I think we got to just do a little bit of explanation on some things. Because when we say the word church, of course, it brings up lots of different ideas. I'll show you what I mean. I could say the word mushroom, right? Hey, some of you are thinking, I could use that in a salad. I could put it on my pizza. I could cook with it. I could make a soup. You can even dry them into mushroom crisps, by the way. Healthy mushroom crisps. Now, another part of you, another cross-section of the room might be thinking, you might be like, you could taste a little bit sick, right? You're like, man, don't you, I got these for you, Yeah, so any mushroom fans in the building? Any non-mushroom people? See, we are an inclusive church. If you like mushrooms or not, you're welcome here. So there we go. Right. So If I say the word mushroom to you, the thing you think of is either going to be appealing or disgusting. Yesterday, here's another example. Yesterday was an important day, and I do not mean your anniversary.
Why not?
Star Wars Day. Yesterday was Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. Yeah? Okay, some of us are thinking, that's just so cool. You might have got a few messages on your phone, not naming any names, but anyway, you might have seen a few that came across wishing one another happy Star Wars Day, right? Some of you might be thinking that is the most stupid, absurd, pointless thing I've ever heard in my life. Right? Any Star Wars fans? I'll just leave my hand up. Right, so the 6 of us, later tonight, we're going to go, no, anyway. So, obviously, the rest of you I'm not even going to ask because, well, all right, forgive me, Father, I have sinned. I do forgive people who don't love Star Wars. Anyway, right, so if we say a word, mushroom, it can give us ideas of appetite or disgust. If we say something like Star Wars, you can think that's really cool or that's really stupid. And we say something like the word church, we can think archaic, institution, old-fashioned, out of step with society, just irrelevant. Or you might think dynamic and helpful and hopeful and family and community. The one word can make different reactions for different people. What we're going to do now is just sort of dig into, like, what does the word actually mean? You know, what does it mean? And maybe for you just hear the word, maybe same as Star Wars. You hear Star Wars and you're just indifferent. You couldn't care. Maybe same when you hear the word church. You're like, meh. It's not either or. It's just, meh. You're indifferent, you know, just totally, indifferent. But we each have a reaction. And it's usually because of our experience. So let's go back to the source. If Jesus is the source, let's go back to what he said. Let's go back to how he talked about this beautiful thing called the church. And it's in Matthew 16. If you have your Bible, you can follow along. If not, we're going to have the scriptures. The verses will come up on here. And Matthew is one of the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the 4 Gospels. And Matthew was an eyewitness. He hung out with Jesus. He spent time with Jesus. And he recorded their experiences and the stuff that they did together. And he writes about this discussion that they had, and it got referenced this morning during our time of worship. And Jesus said, he came from Caesarea Philippi, and he asked his disciples, who do people say that I am? And they replied, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, some say Jeremiah, maybe even another prophet. And then Jesus carries on, he says, but who do you say that I am? He took it from a sort of survey to something a bit more personal, but who do you say I am? So who do you say that I am? And Simon Peter answered, and he said, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God, which is this huge, statement, this epic statement. And then Jesus carries on, like we heard this morning. He says, blessed are you, Simon, for this was not revealed to you just through human understanding, If you're like, wait, are you saying I'm thick? Right? Wait a minute, huh? Wait, hang on, no. Huh? No, this was not revealed to you through human understanding. You're like, Simon, you couldn't have figured it out yourself, dude. Okay? This is not something you could have come to a conclusion all by yourself. Somebody helped you. I know who helped you. My Father, God's Spirit, has helped you understand this. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not overcome it. That's the first time that word is ever used. That's the first time the word's ever referenced. And the interesting thing is the Bible, of course, was written a long time ago. Long time ago, a couple thousand years ago. And at that time, they didn't speak English like we do. They didn't speak the same language that we do. And it was written in ancient Greek. So it was written in another language. The original text, Matthew, when he writes it down, he's not writing in slang or little, quick text abbreviation stuff. He's like, see you later, JK, LOL, love. I'm like, okay, he's writing in ancient Greek. Yeah, okay? And we have to then translate these old texts into language that we can read and that we can understand. And there's a clue that Jesus used. The word that he used for the word church, and some of you might have heard this before, and that's cool. Some of you, this might be the first time you've heard this. So Jesus used this word, and the word that he uses to describe church, the word used church there, the Greek word is ekklesia. Now, ekklesia is not a religious word. It's not a religious word. It has nothing to do with religious connotations at all. It simply means an assembly or a gathering. It means like people that are called out together from one place to gather in another. It's intentional and deliberate. It's not accidental. You know, it wasn't you just happened to both bump into each other at the same market buying mangoes and it's like, hey, we're an ecclesia. No, an ecclesia was an intentional gathering of people. It could be men. It could be women. It could be soldiers. It could be athletes. It could be politicians. It could be all the above. It could be a gathering, an intentional gathering of people. And in other ancient texts, it describes riots. People gathered for a riot. They're the ecclesia. People got together to discuss politics. It was an ecclesia. So it was just a word that was used in the common language, which meant an assembly, a gathering, an intentional gathering of people. They get together, if you like. And it was the people gathering, not the place where they gathered. And the crazy thing is, if you imagine the scene, Jesus is with his followers, and at this time there'll be about, there's 13 people on the side of a hill. Jesus has 12 disciples and him. There's 13 people. And he's going to tell them this great plan. Here's the plan. It's less people than we've got in this room. Less people than in half of the room. More people than on the tech team. But anyway, no. And there's 13 people in this room. And Jesus is like, hey, here's what I'm going to do. He's gathering these people together, and he's like, you will be my assembly, my intentionally gathered people. And nothing can stop it. Nothing can stop you. Nothing. Now, if you were one of those people sitting on the side of a hill, you'd be like, okay, he's just talking in riddles. I mean, could you imagine? You're there and he's saying, you are this and nothing on earth will ever stop us. And you sort of look to one another and you're like, what was in his porridge this morning? I don't know. Yeah, how can these 13 people who are essentially outlaws on the side of a hill in the backwater town of nowhere, the edge of the Roman Empire, okay, this is not Rome, this is not the center, this is not the epicenter. This is a handful of people on the farthest corner of the Roman Empire who are Galileans, which is kind of like an insult. Maybe we do it in other countries, might say they're just from the north, right? They're just northerners, yeah. They're not as clever as the southerners, right? I might not be married later today. Anyway, so the Galileans, oh, you can't be this, you're from Galilee. You're not clever enough, you're from Galilee. Oh, I can tell you're from Galilee by your dumb accent. Okay, this is referenced all the time throughout the Gospels. Here we have a group of Galileans, nobodies, on the side of a hill, being told that they will become the assembly, the intentional gathering of God's people, and nothing on earth can ever stop the movement. That is an epic claim. That is a huge promise. And sometimes when you need a dream, you need something that's so big that you have to stretch and reach and go for it. It's not really a dream to tell you, hey, today you're going to go walk to your car. That's not impressive, is it? If you want to reach for something, it's got to be so big. And Jesus has given them a dream that is so big. You're going to be the called out gathering, the assembly. You're going to be my intentional people. and nothing can stop the movement. That's what he's telling them. He's telling them something so big, so much bigger than the side of a hill, so much bigger than 12 people who feel like outlaws, a ragtag group. It is so big. And so if this word, which originally meant people, how in the world has it sort of migrated and changed? Because we now use the word church in a way different way that they never would have used or even understood. So how's the word moved? How's it changed? So, little quick history. A couple hundred years later, after Rome killed a bunch of Jesus followers, a couple hundred years later, you know what happened? Rome decided, hey, Christianity is the best. Let's make it the state religion. And that which was outlawed and illegal became legal. It became the main religion. It became the main thing. And we had emperors who converted. And all of a sudden, they didn't thought we should spread the gospel by killing a bunch of people, right? I mean, like all of a sudden, might and power got in line with religion, which is always a toxic combination. We know that through history, right? Anyway, what was illegal now became legal. And so it shifted, if you like, and it moved. And instead of having to be people that gathered maybe in homes or fields or someone's house, and all of a sudden the dynamic changed. You could meet in a different way. You could meet in public places and not even be afraid of meeting. Wait a minute. A few years ago, you were like hanging us up and burning us and feeding us to lions, and now you're wanting to like promote it, right? This is what's happening culturally. And so it's changed. And here's what happened. The word that they used then in Greek, because they started to rent buildings, there's even examples of where they took former pagan temples and converted them into Christian places of worship. So here's what we have. You know what they called those places in Greek? The word for that is, I don't know how to pronounce it. Kyriakos, let's say. And that meant house of the Lord. And now Lord is lowercase l, house of the master, house of the boss, house of the chief. It wasn't a religious term, once again. It wasn't like a religious word necessarily. It just meant a house of the local chief or the local whatever, it meant it was a designated place for house of the Lord. Again, it wasn't a religious term. And what happened is over time, Christianity began to spread, didn't it? It didn't just stay in one corner of the Roman, it spread across the world. We know this through history and archaeology. And it spread, right? And it spread into different countries. And so in different countries, people came up and used different words. And then the word in German, which was this word, Kirche, meant house of the, do you see a difference? All of a sudden we have a capital L. It's a religious term. House of the Lord, capital L. So this was a term that meant where you gathered for religious purposes. Because as they do, and as we all do, they take what was one language and you translate it into another language to understand it and make it more clear and make it understood. They said, we have a word for house of the Lord, Kirche. The difference with this word is it refers to the place, not the people. So this word refers to the place, house of the Lord, not gathered, intentional assembly of people. And God's dream was not to have buildings all over the world. God's dream was to have people all over the world. The dream was slightly different than what we've understood. Because at the very beginning, he took this ragtag bunch of outlaws and he turned them into the people of God. That's what he did. The whole story, as we're going to be looking at this for the next few weeks, as we look at this beautiful dream called the church, he took a bunch of nobodies and he shaped them and reformed them. He restored them. He reconciled them. They came from different backgrounds and different social settings. Some of them were enemies. And he made them into one, the people of God. He made them into something, not a place. He made them into a people. And his heart was always not to have structures all around the world. and systems and processes, but to have individuals, men and women from different backgrounds with different languages and different tongues and different skill sets and different ways of looking at life. His dream was to make those people the intentional, gathered assembly of God. That was his intention and his purpose. He wanted to make a collective into the people of God. And for the early church, it was impossible to think of being part of something. Like, I could be a follower of Jesus, but not committed or connected to the church. It's a foreign idea. It's impossible. It doesn't make sense. You couldn't be a follower of Jesus and not be part of the gathered assembly, intentional people. But now we in the West have gone so far away in our understanding because it's all about my experience, my perception, my rights, my feelings. We've individualized something which was never an individual thing. It was always a body thing. It's always a people thing. It's always a group thing, a plural thing. Every single letter in the New Testament, bar one, was written to a group, not an individual. The one letter for an individual was Philemon. He was an owner of a slave, and Paul wrote him a personal letter about reconciling a relationship with one of his servants. It's the only personal letter. Every time when you read the scriptures, when you read the Bible, and you read these letters to the churches, and you read all this stuff, it's written to a people. And we make it our private thing. But it was a public, corporate thing. Public and corporate. The very nature, ecclesia, is a gathering, an assembly, a collective with a shared purpose. The dream was for a gathering and a movement of people. A movement of people that would change the world, and nothing could stop it. Nothing. The Roman Empire couldn't stop it. You know, throughout history, people have tried to snuff out God, haven't they? Throughout history, we have dictators and politicians and people rise up and they try to squish and stomp and snuff out the people of God. They tried to hunt them down and murder them and throw them to lions and burn them at stakes and remove their ability to have jobs and remove their ability to own property. All around the world, followers of Jesus are persecuted for following Jesus. They're being attacked. And it's not just an old-fashioned thing or a historic thing. It's a present, everyday, right now, around the world thing. It is still happening. People are being raped and killed and losing their possessions just because they follow Jesus. They're thrown into prison without trial. They're tortured. They're beaten. But they cannot be stopped. The dream is bigger. The dream is not, it can't be stopped. Nothing on hell can overcome it. Nothing can stop this movement. Governments and rulers have tried to prevent the people of God. They've outlawed prayers, they've outlawed Bibles, they've outlawed meeting, they've outlawed witnessing. The list goes on, but it cannot be stopped. Have you ever thought for a moment it cannot be stopped? We just have to look at history. We have to look at society all around us, and even with our failings and mistakes and bumbling attempts at trying to be the people of God, somehow this thing is still moving on. We've got it so wrong over so many years, you'd think it would have stopped by now, right? But it hasn't. It's carried on. It's like the unstoppable dream. It's still going on. Scientists, politicians, and professors have argued very famous arguments sort of 20 years ago. The new atheist movement, remember? Most scientists now just look at the new atheists as people who made a lot of hot noise. And people who are intellectual, saying your arguments were never intellectual in the first place. They said it would finish. Famous march in Washington with Dawkins. It hasn't stopped, has it? Hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped. I've spent time in Thailand and China. And I've been in countries where you're not supposed to have gathered public meetings and apartment blocks and house church settings. And Chairman Mao thought he would eliminate Christianity. Did you know by 2030, analysts predict that the most populous Christian nation in the world is going to be China? Right? Whoa, right? You put in a whole system politically and socially and structurally to crush something, and it's still, in spite of all of that, it cannot be stopped. It cannot be stopped. And that is why Jesus never wanted to build a building, but build a people. Because you can tear down a building. You can't stop the people. You can't stop the people. If we did a survey, which we not have time to do, I bet we'd find out as people, we work in a lot of different environments and a lot of different settings with a lot of different ages. Some of us might work with cars. Some of us might work with people. Some of us might work with computers. Some of us might work in all different settings. And all of a sudden you are equipped and empowered in whatever setting you are in to be the people of God, to share the light, to bring the witness. Hey, if it's just about the building is easy. We'll just knock it down by bulldozers. But you can't stop the people. You can't stop the movement. I have a dream to gather an assembly of people, and nothing in heaven and hell is ever going to be able to stop it. Nothing will overcome it. And this is the rock that I will build my people. I will build my assembly. I will build my gathered people for an intentional purpose, and nothing can stop it. And now, 2,000 years later, in Letchworth, I can lift my eyes with confidence, because I am not a disciple sitting on the side of a hill, unable to visualize what in the world he's talking about. I've got 2,000 years of history, 2,000 years of seeing the church be a dynamic change for agent. Every woman in the world should be happy to be that Jesus was alive, because the Christian ethics of social equality all came from Christians. Hospitals were built by Christians. Okay, Christians got a lot of stuff wrong. We messed up a lot of stuff, right? But there's so much stuff in society that we should be proud of. And I've got 2,000 years of history, and I look back and I say, the church is still marching and moving, and this dream is worth doing something about. This dream is worth so much, and you cannot stop it. You can bear down the building, but you can't stop everyday, ordinary people, young and old, men and women whose lives have been transformed by the life-changing, life-giving, life-empowering love of Jesus. You cannot stop the people. You can't. It's impossible. And church is about belonging. You are the people of God, and it's bigger than just you, and it's bigger than just me. And for too long, we've made the church a place that we go. And when we make it personal, we can find the one that we like the best, because it's like going into a sweet shop with a pick and mix. You know, we'll just pick this and pick that, and, you know, just do this little pick and mix. I'm not going to have any of those. I don't like those ones. You know, you just like, it's like a pick and mix, isn't it? And the concept of individual pick and mix was never in the early church. It just was a foreign idea. It's something that we have put on there. So we have to go back to what the original dream was, God's beautiful dream, and look at what he originally intended in the first place. And we're going to pause here and just wrap it up. And my heart this morning is, as I want to pray for you, I just pray that you begin to dream again. And you begin to be inspired that there's a what if, that there's a possibility, that there's something that Jesus thought was worth giving his everything for, that there's something more. Can we fall in love again with Jesus and his dream for a beautiful, beautiful church? Because it's not just for us. There's a world that needs to know a life-changing, life-transforming, life-healing, life-restoring message. We have got love, hope, forgiveness. We should be shouting from the rooftops the stuff that we've been given. we've been given so much stuff from God. The stuff that will help heal and redeem society. See, it's not just for us to hide away, it's for us to be empowered to live. Empowered to live this new life. So as we finish, can we just pray for you? God, thank you so much for who you are. God, thank you for everyone here this morning, whether they're in the room or online. God, we thank you so much for who you are. And God, we thank you for this incredible dream. And God, I just ask that you would help us where we've become jaded or cynical or critical. That you'd make us hope-filled dreamers once again. Sometimes it's easy to veer into pessimism, but God, can we lean into your optimism? Yes. The one that says, I will and nothing will stop it. Amen. I will build my assembly and nothing, the gates of hell even, can't stop it. God, can we lean into the vision of what you've painted for us to be? God, that vision will inspire us. That vision will give us hope, God. That vision will fuel the fire in our guts, God. Help us to be the people you've called us to be. God, I pray for everyone here this morning, whether they feel near to you or far from you. I pray that they have an experience and an encounter and an understanding that there's more to this life and an invitation to participate in it. God, in your wonderful, incredible, awesome name we pray. Amen. I'm excited. So for the next 4 or 5 weeks, we're going to be digging into this idea of the beautiful dream, this beautiful dream, the church. So if you're able to, please make sure you come and join us again next week. And we've got a few minutes now. Just got about 5 minutes if you want to chill, grab some drinks. But in 5 minutes, please go get your amazing kiddos from across the street. If you have any questions, I'd love to chat to you. If you want to talk about anything, I'll be here to talk to you. And if you'd like to know anything about the church, please see Elaine and Adley at the welcome table at the back, and they can be happy to help you. Amen. Awesome.